Ayush, can we start? Yeah, we'll start. Good evening, everyone. I am Abhishek Tiwari, Cloud Lead from GDSC team, and I am delighted to be your host for today's Cloud Jam speaker session. It is an honor to introduce our distinguished guest speaker for today's Cloud Jam session, Ms. Abirami Sukumaran. With a remarkable career spanning over 17 years, ma'am has expertise in databases, data management, and analytics, making her a recognized leader in these domains. She is also pursuing a doctorate in business administration, specializing in machine learning. Currently, she serves as a developer advocate at Google, specializing in Google Cloud databases and data to AI journey. But that's not all. She's the founder of Code Vipassana, a program focused on hands-on application development using Google Cloud services in themes of AI/ML, data, databases, application development, serverless DevOps, and more. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Abirami Sukumaran, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it for that introduction. And hi, everyone. I know it's 7 p.m. and you're almost at the end of your working day or, um, school day, college day. So thanks a lot for joining, and I really appreciate talking to you today. This topic is very close to my heart, and I hope to get you all as engaged as I could and get you on board to some of the topics that we'll be touching upon in today's session. So, before I get started, just a quick show of hands. How many of you have not used Google Cloud at all? You can just use the thumbs up emoticon from that emoji, because if you raise your. Okay, so a couple of folks so far. So, others, I assume, have used Google Cloud. Vivek Mishra not used. Okay. So there are a few folks who haven't used, and all right. So we'll keep it from the foundational level. So definitely there'll be something for everyone who's in the call. And if you have questions, or if there, so we are going to be hands-on. I'm going to talk about cloud computing and all those things a little bit, and some of the topics that we'll cover today from a design perspective to a certain extent I'll talk about. But for the most part, it will be hands-on. So feel free to bring in your laptops if you don't have it right in front of you at the moment, if you're connecting from phone. If you have the ability to bring your laptop right now, just please take a minute to do that, because we will be covering a little bit of hands-on. Actually, I'm saying a little bit, but as you're getting involved, it'll be like you would have completed a lot more than a lot of folks have done with Google Cloud, or for cloud computing for that matter, with cloud computing for that matter, overall in their entire career, even if they're working, because we'll touch upon some really recent topics, like hot topics and all that. So definitely, let's keep it interactive, and I want you to follow along. So please bring in your laptops if you haven't already. I'll share my screen in a bit. Let me know if you're able to see it.
Yes, ma'am. What's your
Okay.
screen?
So whoever is hosting this meeting, please feel free to record it if you need it for other folks.
Yes, ma'am. We are recording it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's get started. Before we dive into the details or dive into the topics per se, I want to ask you all, what is cloud for you? Use the chat to type in your messages, or if you believe that you have something to say really concrete, please raise your hand. But I prefer go with chat so I can give everyone an opportunity and see cloud computing to you. Yes, Saurabh, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself to talk, or the host has to unmute you. Okay, use the chat otherwise. That's better. So we'll save time as well. Use the chat. So, what is cloud computing to you? Online computer to be accessed from anywhere. Okay, we have another hand up. So, yes, Mo, if you want to unmute yourself and say, go ahead, go for it. I don't have access to unmute you. So, data storage. So, feel free to type in because it's going to probably take up a lot of time. We are not able to unmute. So, go ahead and type in data storage. Okay, so what else? Three more answers and we'll get started. What is cloud computing for you? I just want to understand where you stand from a cloud computing perspective. So don't worry, this is not to find out how much you know, because we are going to learn together in the session. This is not an assessment or anything. Making large and high level computing available from anywhere. Okay. And Abhishek says it's like having a virtual space where you can store and use your digital files, applications, and data without needing to rely on the physical storage and processing power of your own devices. Okay. Ashish says on demand service. It's a virtual platform to perform tasks. It provides computing services. Ganeshan has a decentralized mode of handling computational resources. All right. So thanks for all the responses. So all of you are correct in one aspect. So everyone here has given one aspect of what cloud computing is. Ultimately, if I have to put it in a much generic way, it's a lot of things, right? It's all of those things that you said, and on top of that, there are so many things that you did not cover. Probably, if I give you more time, probably you'll cover all those things as well. But in the interest of time, let's keep moving. As you can see right here, it's everything that you get done, but not using your computer, but somebody else's computer, right? So nobody brought up that point. You all said all the important things, like make it available from anywhere, make all the computing available, storage. You talked about resources, you talked about scaling and all that, but nobody said who is maintaining those, who's providing, who's provisioning those things, right? So basically cloud computing or cloud in a sense is in a very generic essence, it is like getting things done using someone else's computer. So that someone else is the provider that you choose for your applications or for your business, right? Like in this case we are discussing Google Cloud. So there are similarly there are other providers, and there are even private providers where specific resources are made available just for a specific organization privately, and that's what brings about different types of cloud, like public, private, hybrid, and all those things. But anyway, we are not going into that level of theoretical detail now, but just know that getting things done using someone else's computers, but at the same time you have control over what is being shared, you have control over what is what is open for automatic updates or automatic scaling or automatic provisioning, right? So you have the control still, but the execution part is happening in someone else's computer. Basically, the if I give you a requirement now, right? So cricket match is going on, so World Cup is going on, right? So if I give you a requirement that data is available from, let's say, so many matches, all the um, uh, what is that, what is that one called, knockoffs or whatever that is, all the knockoffs are complete. So now we are entering semifinals. So if I tell you that you have to take all the data that is available, the data that is available from the previous years and from the current year's knockoff matches, take all that data and make some prediction as to, now we know already who's made it to the semifinals, but if I say how much will each country score, or who will be the highest wicket taker, or who will be the highest run scorer, or who will be the brightest in the fielding, or something of that sort, or what will be the height of the biggest six, or depending on the grounds that the matches are being played. So if I ask you to come up with metrics like that, okay, so this is the requirement. You have to build a user interactive, beautiful user interface with a functionality where you enter the question and the system should bring out the answer for you. And the question can be like, based on the patterns and based on the time of the match, tell me which country is capable of taking what score, right? Or you could ask questions like, um, can you tell me how I can improve the conditions to make sure that India will win the cup, or India will be the first one to score so many runs in a one day match, for instance. So something of that sort. You can ask questions like that. So that is your requirement, but that is not the only, that is a business requirement for you, high level, saying this is what I want to see. But what if I tell you all this you have to build without maintaining the server? Like you have to build the entire full stack application, but you are not maintaining the server. I'm not giving you any resources personally for you to maintain it. You're not going to maintain the web server or the database server. You should not rely, or you should not install anything. You should not install any updates or patches. Same way with scalability. You should not manually be available at 12 a.m. in the night. Anyone who's requesting from anywhere in the world should be able to get the response, even if it's like 10 people or 10,000 people accessing your application at the same time. It should not crash. It should work for everybody. It should scale automatically, and the runtime should be reliable, meaning it should not crash and it should not break. And depending on the traffic, its performance should not slow down. And I'm telling you, the analytics should be like fast. It cannot just say, okay, I'll so these are the values and this is the query, go run this query in your database. So it should not tell you stuff like that. It should give you like quick, and it should make quick analytics and should give you the answer right away. And then cheating detection, no, that's not related to this use case. But it has to use some machine learning models to bring out the pattern recognition for the answers to the questions that you ask. And it should also be able to give you the visualization that you need in charts, and showing you the trend of the trend of the score, or the trend of the posture of the player, and all these things. But at the same time, you should not think about provisioning hardware, installing software, upgrading operating systems, security patching, network issues, scalability, and whether a cluster is working fine or not, provisioning database clusters. So you should not be worried about all those things. You should not be thinking about all those things. So this is the gigantic requirement sheet that I'm giving you. So now imagine if I tell you this, what will you do? Give me some thoughts on your on give me some thoughts in the chat. Right after this, we'll jump right into some demo, but a few more steps, and then we'll jump into the demo. But tell me, what is your thought? Like, if I give you a requirement like this, what are the areas of um, let's take it as a full stack application that you're building, right? This is a use case. So I give this use case to you today. You don't know anything about cloud computing, but let's say you know some aspects. Now, based on the answers you've given me, can you tell me what are some of the things that come to your mind, some of the divisions or some of the aspects of software or application development or program that comes to your mind when I give you this requirement? Feel free to ping in the chat. Any thoughts? Anybody? You can raise your hand. We'll give you an opportunity to speak. I think if the I don't see a host. Okay. Yeah. So tell me, what are your thoughts? You have to give me at least one thought, otherwise we are not moving ahead. You definitely have ideas. Don't feel shy about this. We are all learning together. So feel free to talk, speak up. Front end, back end, database, API management. Perfect. What else? What else? Based on the requirements, I can show you the requirements sheet as well. Based on the requirements, what else will you think? Front end, okay, perfect. Back end, what is back end to you? Is it server API or what? I don't, okay, you mentioned database as well. Okay, fine. So all that database and API management will form backend and integration. What else? Look at the requirements. Any other thought, Abhishek, from the requirements? What about serverless runtime? There's serverless, right? And then we'll talk about what is serverless. We'll talk about what is runtime. What about analytics? Yes, Ayush, perfect. What about visualization? right? You have to show the graphs and charts, you have to show the trend, right? You have to show the data descriptively so the user can make informed decision. What about machine learning? You have to make analytics from the visualization. You have to make pattern recognition, you have to make predictions, you have to make um, prescriptive metrics and all those things and make it available for the user, right? So many things, definitely a lot of things that we can cover, but at this point, we'll just say comprehensively these are some of the things that you will think about. Now runtime is that yeah, runtime is something that when you're writing code in your particular in your laptop or in a particular environment, and it's running there, it's available for you, or it's available in the environment where you're writing your code or saving your code or building your code. But let's say you want the entire audience in the call today, or anybody else around the globe, anywhere else across the country, to use your application that you built. You have to make it available by deploying it in a server, right? So if you have to make it available by deploying it in a server, there is a catch here. I've told you that you cannot maintain anything. So basically, you want somebody else to take care of all these requirements for you. Now, again, you can go for VMs and other things, but ultimately, what ends up happening is you become responsible for configuring it, for installing what you want in it, and other things. Rather than that, I'm saying like you shouldn't think about anything of that sort. So in that case, your runtime has to be handed over to somebody else. So I write my code, I save it somewhere, and I hand it over to the provider, to the cloud provider, to say, hey, here's my code. This is what the programming language is. Or in some cloud run is another service where you have to give the container, or this is a packaged code. Here is my container. Go run it in your cloud platform and make it available on the cloud so anybody can access. And here are my authentication requirements. So you're handing over your code, you're handing over all your things, and the provider takes care of it for you by deploying it and making it available and making it scalable. Let's say if it's 2 people or 21 people in the accessing your application, or 2 million people accessing your application at the same time, or even more, it has to scale and it should not break. So that's what we call runtime, and that's what we call serverless, because it doesn't mean there is no server. It just means that you don't deal with your server. Somebody else does it for you. Like we saw in the beginning, right? Cloud computing is doing things on somebody else's computer. So same thing, deploying your code on somebody else's server is serverless. Server is still there, but it's not yours, right? And a lot of things like monitoring, scalability, pricing, all these things get elastic in the sense it only charges you for how much ever you use. If you have zero usage, your charge will come down to as low as almost zero. So just use it, just give your code and and click deploy, and one click deploy, and automatically your code or your package gets deployed, depending on your choice of runtime or serverless. So why I'm stressing on this point is the first demo that we're going to do today, and all of you to do it hands on along with me. So is with respect to runtime, and I'll let you choose the programming language of your choice, but I'm going to do it in Java. So if you don't have any preferred programming language, play along with me. If you have any specific programming language in mind, go for it. It is a simple application. We'll just do a simple addition program, but I want to show you how that simple program which you write in your browser goes into cloud and is made available for other people to use. All right. And then we just spoke a little bit about what analytics is, what visualization is, what ML is. We'll again touch base on it as and when we go through the demo, but let's start with runtime first. So before going into the demo, I want to give you all access to the credits. So if you have not used Google Cloud at all up until now, or even if you've used it and don't have credits, you can definitely use this. Scan this, or I'll put this link in the chat. You can click that and um, enable it for you. Just add the $5 credits. It'll assign $5 credits for you. Just click that and assign the $5 to your account. You have to be signed into your Gmail account. So after that, just let me know. Once you click that, you should see the page like this. So it should load the credit for you. It will say click here to access your credits. Click that. And once you click that, it will give you your name and other details. A button to continue. click that, it'll automatically land you on the Google Cloud Console. If you have trouble doing this with the credits, it means you either have already used some or the same credit you might have already used through some other portal or some other means. So that's why, but it still means your balance should still be there with your project. So you should still be able to continue with the console.cloud.google.com. So if you're not going through the credits link, then I'll give you the link to the console. Use that link. All right. Okay, perfect. So now I want to understand from all of you. Wait a minute. This dinging is just distracting me. Maybe you can remove me as a host. I'm so sorry. I know I asked you to make me host, but please don't right now. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So once you're able to just show me this thumbs up emoji. Once you're able to click the credits and add the $5 to your account. Perfect. All right, we are good to go. So let's get started. So you should be able to see once you're able to access your credits, you should land on console.cloud.google.com. So this is what Google Cloud Console looks like. On the left, you should see the menu, and next to that, you'll see the Google Cloud logo, and next to that, you should see the project ID. If it's not showing any project, click the drop down and click New Project. Enter a name and leave the location as it is and click create. Once you click create, make sure you go back to the hamburger menu, choose billing, click billing. And once you click billing, make sure you're able to see manage billing and then link a billing account. If a billing account is already linked to the project, you won't see link a billing account option. But if you're seeing link a billing account, it means your current project that is showing in the dropdown is not associated to a billing account. So you should have clicked on the link that I provided in the chat in order to enable billing, and then create a project and then link the billing account to the project. By default, it should link to the latest recently added billing account. If not, you can always do it by yourself by clicking on billing and then choosing, I'll show you, and then choosing link a billing account. Like I'm selecting this project right now, and then I'll go here, click the hamburger menu, click billing. And once I click billing, it'll open up another pop-up. See, it is already associated to a billing account, so I'm not getting a pop-up. But if I scroll down, I'm seeing $5, but actually a 0.01 has been used, which I don't like. I don't know why. Okay. Anyway. How many of you are already here? Show of thumbs, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to the next step. You're all here. Now click the Google Cloud logo. So it'll take you back to the Google Cloud console. All right. So now this is what the Google Cloud console looks like. And if you want to search for a particular service, there are a lot of services, right? We saw so many things. You pinged in the chat. You said, where is it? You said there is user interface, front end, back end, databases, API management, analytics, visualization, microservices, VMs, data processing, ML, AI, generative AI. There are so many services, and within so many categories, and within each category of product or each category of a product area, we have several services. If you want to search for a particular service, use this search bar and type in there. Okay. Now, since we spoke about runtime and serverless, why it's important? Because everything needs a runtime. So if you're a Java programmer, you would know, or any other program, every programming language needs a runtime, right? Like it has to build, it has to compile, it has to work. So you can take the built code and give it to some other machine to deploy it. Now, so if you know Java runtime environment, you know that you write a code, and in order to run it somewhere or in order to build it somewhere, you need the runtime environment. So anything you do, no matter what, whether it's ML, whether it's AI, or you can say, I'm just here to do a certain thing, just point and click, and then do a series of steps and I don't know what will happen to the application, I'll probably just look at the user interface or I'll just look at the database part, I'll write a few queries. But whatever it is, if you have to put the pieces together, either through a full-fledged full stack application, cohesive application, or as an independent API, you need a runtime that needs to take care of each and every component that you're dealing with. Maybe you're not part of the team that takes care of it, but definitely behind the scenes somebody is doing it, right? So runtime is critical for you to demonstrate any other capability. So I always start with just a simple cloud function. So you're able to write your own program and run it. So that way you're empowered to do anything on the cloud platform, build your own application, which is in the let's say web application area, or it's in the AI ML area, or it's in the generative AI area, whatever it is, or plain old SQL database area, whatever it is, you need to be capable of putting the pieces together and delivering it as an API. So that's why I always start with the runtime. And today we are going to look at cloud functions. So the serverless options in Google Cloud covers Cloud Functions, Cloud Run, App Engine. We'll cover Cloud Functions. Cloud Functions and Cloud Run are pretty popular, and I mean all are popular, but Cloud Functions and Cloud Run are used mostly in full stack applications and single page applications, particularly Cloud Functions. Cloud Run is used for packaged applications that need to be packaged, which has applications which have a lot of dependencies, right? So those will fall under applications that need packaging, whereas cloud functions are like one page applications. Let's say you have a database, like the same cricket use case that I told you, right? So every let's say you're getting the data, but match, so you have historical data from the previous matches, but at the same time there is probably some match going on today and you need ball by ball update as well. So when you're getting ball by ball update, let's say the transaction table gets loaded, but at the real time data table gets loaded, but at the same time you want to stream it into an analytics database and want to trigger an operation from there. Say this is the new data that has come in, now call the ML model again and retrain the data that you have. So that could be a trigger, right? So that particular trigger or calling the model could be written in a cloud function. Things that are one page and do not require to be packaged can easily be handled with cloud functions. Right, so we're going to look at cloud functions today. So whatever service you want, like I said, you type it in the search bar over there. So I'm going to type cloud functions. So the difference between cloud functions and cloud run is that, like I said, one is cloud run is for packaged applications and this one is for single page applications. Doesn't mean that you cannot have other classes. You can have more than one class in a cloud function as well. But don't implement a full heavy duty application like the full cricket match and analytics application into cloud functions. Maybe one or two functionalities in there you can implement in cloud function, but as a use case, as an application as a whole, try to use cloud run for it, right? So in cloud functions you can write your code, build it, deploy it serverlessly just with your code, raw code. You don't have to package it, whereas in behind the scenes scene it packages it for you. Whereas cloud run, you have to containerize your application into a package and that container will be deployed on cloud. So that's the difference. All right. So today we're going to, in this demo, we're going to look at cloud functions. So in the search bar, type cloud functions and click. So in my case, cloud functions API is already enabled. If it is not enabled for you, it will prompt you with a button saying enable cloud function API. Click that. That's it. It's as simple as that. Just do it. So I'll just pause here for a second to make sure everybody else has done it. Just show of thumbs, please. All right. All right. Perfect. So now let's get started. So we are right here. If you're seeing this Cloud Functions console, in your case, you might not have so many items in your list because for most of you, this might be or some of you, this might be the first Cloud Function. So click the Create Function button. Once you click that, it may again prompt you to enable some APIs. Go ahead and enable that. I'll wait for a minute, or not a minute, a few seconds, and then I'll explain to you what attributes are there in this page. All right, here we have environment. Always choose search engine because we are moving forward and we get a lot of advanced and improved features with search engine. So always choose search engine. Function name, give the name that you prefer for your function. Let's say function add 20. Let's leave it at function add. Region, leave it as US-Central 1 Iowa. Remember what region you're choosing here. After that, also, you can come back to the configuration and see it. But I prefer remembering it so that way any other service or dependency that you're using, you can make sure that it lies in the same region so it's not trying to integrate or communicate cross region. So choose that region here and trigger. Since this being a model or demo exercise, let's choose allow unauthenticated invocations. But for a production application or an app that you want to actually seriously implement for your startup or for other purposes, you do not want to choose this. You have to require authentication. That is a best practice, and that's the recommended one. Demo purposes, we can choose allow unauthenticated invocations. It means anyone who has the link to the deployed cloud URL of this cloud functions will be able to access this cloud functions, right? Now, below that, you have runtime build connections and security settings. Just check what it is, all the memory allocation, CPU, concurrency, like how many requests you want to handle per instance, and all those things. If you want to change, you can provide changes, but we will leave it as it is with baseline values and click next. Sorry, default values and click next. So I'll pause here for a few seconds. Please confirm showing your thumbs up if you're able to complete the configuration step and are seeing the code step. Okay, perfect. Now let's get into this. This is what I was talking about, the runtime that we have here. Here it's showing Node.js. Like I said, I'm going to choose Java 11. If you have a preferred programming language, go for it from this list. If it's there, please go for it. If not, you can stick to Java 11 and follow my instructions. Whatever code changes I make here, I'll share it with you. Now, if you're familiar with Java programming, I would not have to explain this, but if it's not the case, then I'll just give you a high level introduction of this class anyway. So this is the folder structure, and the package name is GCFV2, and the class name is hello http function.java. You can change the name of this and say this is the entry point for your function, right? Whatever name you provide here is what Google Cloud will understand as the entry point for this function. If you want to invoke this function from anywhere else, this name will be part of the invocation or the endpoint. So this is the entry point for the function. You can change it, but right now we'll leave it as it is. And pom.xml is the XML that contains the dependencies. So if you have to write a program, let's say if it uses some other library or something else that lives in some other library, right? Say JSON, or you're using a machine learning API, or you're using a generative AI API. Now those things live in some other library. It is not available in the basic Java default Java libraries, right? So you will have to explicitly include that dependency within the dependencies tag here. In this case, we are not going to include any external library. We are going to just do a basic addition function with cloud functions in Java. So I'm going to not modify anything in pom.xml, but just take a look at what it looks like. And it is fairly self-explanatory. Just take a look at this, okay? And go to hello http function.java. So you declare the package, and then you write the import statements. Import is basically to import all the classes that are utilized, or all the classes that are referred to in this piece of code or in this particular class of Java program. And this is the class, public class hello http function. This http function name is the entry point for this cloud function. The three names should be the same, right? The class name and the file name should be the same, right? That's how Java works. And then implements HTTP function. You cannot change any of these things. This is template. This has to be there for cloud functions to work. In addition, if you want to implement another interface or extend another class, you can obviously include all those things, but you have to mandatorily have implements HTTP function in your cloud functions code. Now, this is a method public void service. Void is because public is because this method and this class are made publicly available, and void is because this particular method does not return anything. It just writes something to the buffered writer, which is the browser if we run it on the browser. And service is the method, and we need to keep this because we are implementing HTTP function. We need to write this method, and we are passing the HTTP request parameter and the HTTP response parameter to this method definition. Right? Throws exception is because if it fails, it will automatically throw exception, and you'll see that in the browser if there is an error. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a minor tweak here and in the code and include an addition function. So I'm going to do public. I'm going to return an integer. This is not void this time. Int, public int, and I'll say add, and then this, right? Curly braces. Now I'm going to do int c equal to a plus b, and now a plus a and b need to be declared. Int a equal to 1, b equal to 2, and return c. That's it. Now this c we have to show somehow in this method, right? So what do we do? Here I'll do int result equal to add. I'm invoking the add method, which is right below, and then I'm using this result to be displayed here along with hello world. So I'll call this here. I'll copy this code. I'll also share it with you in the meeting chat, so you can just replace it in, if it works, replace it. Otherwise, let's see what happens. Um, and once these changes are done, just click deploy. So it'll take a few seconds. Now, while it's deploying, as you can see right here, there are two things. There's build and service. So anyone can tell me what it is doing in build and what it'll do in service? I'll wait until the method is deployed so you're not distracted.
Ma'am, I don't think the code has copied completely. It's incomplete.
Oh, is that so? Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, please ignore that last message and start from here. Oh, it's not copying. I don't know why. Okay, I'll just copy the bottom part after that line. It's only showing till int add open parenthesis, right? Okay, here you go. The remainder of the code is right below. Sorry about that, and thanks for bringing it up. Copy paste the whole thing. It's in two parts. Sorry about that. All right, build is finished and the service is ready. So how many of you were able to get, okay, Abhishek has said build basically is the process of preparing and packaging and its dependencies for deployment. Yeah, pretty much compiling and building your code. And the second part, which is service, what is service? You should know what API means. You should know what HTTP, REST, endpoint, service, all of these things except HTTP. That's a protocol, but service, endpoint, REST endpoint, and what else did I say? APIs. All of these things mean the same, which means you're making your code available as a service. So I'm adding two numbers. Now I'm giving that method as a service to another to get it deployed on the cloud, so somebody else can use the same method or somebody else can use that application itself as a downstream or to consume that in their application as a downstream or upstream application, right? So that's basically what we're doing right here. Now, how many of you were able to complete this step? Or maybe your app is still running, maybe your deployment is still running, but how many of you were able to get to this point? Show of thumbs up. Okay, perfect. We have a few folks. All right. So if you go to metrics tab, once it completes, you can see this right here that you'll see the monitoring for the method, for the function. Right now, we have not used this deploy cloud function yet. So it's not showing any data, but let me show you this after we click that URL and see what's happening. But before that, there's an important thing that we need to check. Permissions. So what we did is that we made this as unauthenticated, which means anybody can access this cloud functions, right? So let's see if that works. But another thing which you also should remember, that as I said, cloud function behind the scenes is powered by Cloud Run. So Cloud Run has its own authentication mechanism. So right click on this, on the top right corner, you should see powered by Cloud Run and the link to the Cloud Run service. So right click that and do open link in new tab. Just give me a second. Somebody keeps pinging me. I don't know why. What happened? Okay, I'll close this. Okay. So open, right click and open your Cloud Run in another tab. And once you've opened it in another tab, you should be able to go to security over here in Cloud Run to see if that is accessible to all or not. So I'm going to security here. So allow unauthenticated invocations is already selected. So we are good to go. Right now, let's go back to Cloud Functions. Let's see if this works, right? Click trigger. The same link is available on top as well. Just click the link. If you're already able to see the result. Why? Because we have explicitly selected allow unauthenticated invocations. That's why you're able to see this. So hello world 3, the result is shown right there. Now, if you go back to metrics, you should be able to see that one request that we just passed, right? Execution time, you see this particular request that's gone from our instance, right? From our browser. And memory utilization, nothing, no data is available. There's no error, so we are all good. But this is how quick analytics is visible. Quick monitoring is made available for the application that we have just deployed. So Cloud Run is very similar as well. If you go there, you should also see metrics for Cloud Run deployed applications. So I'm going to pause here and ask you how many of you were able to complete up to this step, which means you have successfully deployed your first cloud application. Now sky is your limit. You can go and build whatever you want. Show of thumbs. How many of you are able to complete the deployment and it works and shows you the result correctly on the browser? Perfect. That's really great to see. Now let's move on. Now we are going back to our previous discussion, right? Like all the requirements that I gave you. Yeah, I see a few hand raises. Is there a specific question? Those who have their hand raised, can you let me know if you have question in the chat? Or you were just saying that you've completed till this step? Okay, perfect. Now, going back to the requirements that I gave you. So runtime was that simple, right? Now, there are other things when it comes to handling your data. There is, okay, fine. Now you know where to run your application. You know how to write your first application and run it. Now, what else will you have the data? What else will you do with the data that you say you have, say in a CSV format or it's available in a website? What will you do with it? What is the first step in handling your data? Can you tell me that in the chat? What is the first step in handling your data? Come on, quick, really quick. We have 2 more topics as demos that we have to cover, which are really important. So give me some answers, responses on the chat. What is the first step? You already gave the answer. You also have the answer, not here actually, but yeah, some of you already gave the answer to this previous question about what are the different things components that you think about when I give you a requirement like this, like a cricket application. Before data cleaning, Arnav, before even cleaning, there is data in CSV or its data is available on a website. What is the first thing that you will do for your application with that data? Yes, designing is very important, crucial step. Let's say we have done all the design decision discussions, right? Let's say we have gone through that step. We have made all the decisions. Now we have done all the rinse and repeat process of objective designing and data modeling and everything. Now, hands-on, what's the first step with your data? What will you do with the data? It's just somewhere in the air. Like what do you have to do? Data injection, that is right. Okay, data injection is also a process. Data injection could be one. What next? After data injection, what next? Before analyzing the data, how will you analyze the data? Where is the data? You'll analyze the data in CSV itself. Very important thing. What is that environment? Where will you save the data? Databases, absolutely. Yes. So storage, databases, storage, and data warehousing or data lake, whatever it is that you're solving for, whatever stage of your application you're solving for, that is what we call as the most important step when it comes to handling your data. Of course, data injection, sorry, not injection, ingestion, storage, cleanse, sorry, not storage, data ingestion, cleansing, processing, transformation, visualization, analytics, machine learning, and then finally insights, prescriptive metrics. These are all different stages of data. But after ingestion, the most important thing is what do you have to do in order to analyze your data. You need to store it somewhere, right? Only then you can write queries, or you can build applications that will allow you to build ML applications on top of it. So database is the most important part. We also call it as storage, database or storage, depending on what your format or structure of your data is. There's structured data conventionally, and then now you have semi-structured data in the form of JSONs, XMLs, and then going further from there, you have unstructured data, which are like images, you have audio files, videos, and other things. So there are so many different structures and formats of data. So depending on what you're using, you need to store it. So that is where all those design decisions and all those things play a vital role, because you need to be very sure of where you're storing your data, because that influences your application's performance, your application's relevance, and everything that you address as part of application delivery, right? So database is the most important thing as well. So now I'm going to give you a link to a code lab. I want you all to click that code lab and follow along, and at the same time do what I'm doing right now. Like you'll do a full-fledged application again, but it's also very simple. But you would, by the end of this hands-on, you would have completed creating an ML model, and also in the end we'll also create a generative AI model as well. So it's a really fun use case. So I want you to click this code lab, and once you click that, this is what it looks like. You have to see the instructions on the left, the steps on the left, and on the right you will see the details. You want to click, because I'm not going to paste each and every step in the chat. I'll ask you to copy it directly from the code lab. So please have this code lab open, and let's get started. So once you're all set, let me know. Once again, open your Google Cloud Console. It should already be open. So make sure you have some, you can close the browser that you did the Cloud Functions in. And one more thing, you go ahead and delete the Cloud Functions, right? So go here, go to Cloud Functions. You can do it later as well. I'm just saying, just select the Cloud Function that you just added. That's what I should probably do also. And click delete. That's it. Why I'm asking you to do that, so that way you don't accidentally call it multiple times and use up your resources, right? So just delete it if you no longer need it, or if you want to try out other things on the same program that you wrote, keep it. But just don't keep the link open that you accidentally click it multiple times, right? Now I'm going to close this as well, and I'm going to right click on the Google Cloud icon and open a clean new Google Cloud Console. And here also I'll do the same things. I have 3 Google Cloud Consoles tabs open because I'm going to open few services one by one. So I want you to do the same. So I'm going to pause here for a second, show of thumbs how many of you are able to open the code lab and complete all those things that we did right now. Okay, perfect. All right, very good. So now what we're going to do is, we spoke about databases. We already built an application. Now I'll show you how to take that data and do some querying, basically basic analytics on top of it, and do advanced analytics, which is machine learning, which is a conventional machine learning, right? We'll do a classification model. I'll explain what it is as well. And then finally, we'll do a generative AI use case. Now, what is the use case? What is the functionality or the requirement for this hands-on that we're going to do? So we'll take this movie prediction use case. So movie rating prediction. So you know this IMDb ratings, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, every movie will be given a specific rating. So what we are going to do is, we are going to write an ML model. We are going to first store the data. Data is already made available for you. I'll give you the link to the data. It's also there in the code lab. We're going to take the data, store it in BigQuery, and we'll write an ML model in BigQuery itself. to classify the movie and the for the with the corresponding data that you provide in the database, to classify it on a scale of 1 to 10, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, right? So there are 10 classes. So we'll associate a movie, we'll predict whether a movie is associated to a class 1 or a class 5 or a class 10, depending on the model that we'll create, right? Depending on the parameters that the movie has. Now, what parameters we are going to use in order to determine whether a movie score is on a scale of what the movie score is on a scale of 1 to 10. So we are going to use the movie's genre and runtime. Genre is whether it's horror or crime or thriller or comedy or romance or action or rom-com, whatever it is. And runtime is the number of minutes that the movie's duration, basically the number of minutes the movie runs, the duration. So that's the runtime. This is not the Google Cloud runtime that we discussed before. This is the movie runtime. So you have two parameters, and based on these parameters, we will say what the movie success score or IMDb rating for that movie is. That's it. Now, in the data, you might see other fields, but we are not going to use all the fields for ML. The basic ML we'll only do with using these two fields as independent variables. The field that we'll predict is called score, because we call the success score or the IMDb rating of the movie as score. Score is our target variable, and genre and runtime are our independent variables. Now, why are there so many other variables? Because ultimately, in the end, we'll invoke a generative AI API and ask the model, the Palm API, to go through all the data that is available in the database and tell you what are the other parameters in addition to these two parameters that influence a movie's success rating to be greater than 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. Right? So these are the three things that we're going to do: store the data, create ML, and create generative insight. So three things. So are we good with that? Can we get started? Show of thumbs, please. Okay, perfect. So going back to the code lab. So introduction, this basically covers what we just discussed. One thing which I didn't mention yet, and I was waiting for this to show on the screen, is these three things. The BigQuery ML. This is the BigQuery is where we are going to store the data. BigQuery ML is what we are going to use in order to create the classification model. I'll tell you why it is a classification model when we get to it. And Vertex AI's Palm API. This is what we're going to use for the generative insights. Cloud Shell, this is where we'll write our Cloud Shell commands to interact with BigQuery from command line itself. All right. And this is what you'll build. Like I said, you'll build a BigQuery data set, create a table, store the data, create the model, predict using the model that you just created, and use Palm API to generate insights about the movie. That's it. Those are the things that you build. And in order to access Vertex AI from BigQuery, you will create external connection. That's it. These are the things you will build. Requirements, you already have Google Cloud Console open. You already have the project created. You already have billing enabled because you use the free credits. You made some APIs available, all those APIs that were required for Cloud Functions. But for this particular project, you will need a few more. In order to do that, if you go to step 2 in the requirement step in the code lab, under the before you begin topic, step number 3, make sure all the necessary APIs. So that step, the last one is a hyperlink. The word enabled is hyperlinked. So right click, copy that link address, go back to the browser where you have the project tab open, Google Cloud project tab open, paste it and hit enter. It should list all the APIs that you should enable. So please follow along because we don't have much time. We have to quickly finish. It's not very difficult, but still follow along. So confirm project. So it shows your project ID, confirm and click next. And then it shows you the APIs you're about to enable. In this case, it's BigQuery API, BigQuery Connection API, Vertex AI API. So click enable because these are the 3 things we want to enable. Once you enable it, you should see that it will check both the steps and you should be good. You can close that tab. Now go back to the code lab. So you've completed those steps. Next step before you begin is activating Cloud Shell. Why? Because Cloud Shell is important for you to interact with the services in Google Cloud. And today, in this part of the demo, we are going to interact with BigQuery from Cloud Shell. So there are multiple ways to interact with services or to implement applications using the services in Google Cloud. You can use the Cloud Shell terminal. You can use the Google Cloud console itself, like how we created Cloud Functions, right? From the console. You can do that. Or you can programmatically achieve the same thing. Like you can write a Java application to to do all the things that we do right now, right? So there are multiple ways. You can use client libraries, you can use APIs, but in this demo, this part of the demo, we are going to use the Cloud Shell. So where is Cloud Shell? This is the top right corner where it says activate Cloud Shell, the square, and inside that you see a right arrow followed by an underscore. Click that. That's Cloud Shell. And in the other tab that you have opened the Google Cloud console in, if you have not if you don't have it opened, right click on the Google Cloud icon and do open link in new tab. It should open a new tab. While it's opening in new tab, make sure that the other one is loaded. Yeah, the Cloud Shell terminal is loaded. So it's loaded for me. Now I'm waiting for this console to show up. Yeah, so I'll click the activate Cloud Shell again, but this time, before it could load, I'll quickly click on open editor button. Don't let it open the terminal, then it will transfer. It will already transferred my session. Just do reconnect. So basically, I'm trying to show you two tabs, one with Cloud Shell terminal and the other one with Cloud Shell editor. We are not going to edit anything in the editor, but I just want you to see what it looks like. So you can see your projects opening up in beautifully in the structure, depending on what programming language you use. Because this is also a code editor. This is very similar to your Visual Studio Code if you're familiar with that. If not, just think of it as an editor. Whatever files you create here or store here, you can see that in the editor. So once again, I'll tell you how to get here. The top right corner, if you click that, it'll open Cloud Shell terminal. While it opens, if you immediately click open editor, like here itself, I can switch between editor and terminal, right? So open another tab, click activate Cloud Shell, and immediately while it's loading, quickly click open editor. So you have both terminal and editor in two tabs, just for ease of use. That's all. Now, Cloud Shell is something that allows you to when you activate Cloud Shell, it allocates a certain specific allocates a Cloud Shell machine for you. It has some storage, it has some capacity, some compute, and all that. Not much, but it has some. So, but it's free and it's available. I mean, the Cloud Shell itself, that terminal itself is free for everybody to use. So that's what we're going to use now. And the terminal is where you provide your commands and your instructions, and the editor is where you can edit your code or file or whatever you want, right? So now go back to the code lab. So we are done with all the prerequisites pretty much. One thing, make sure the Cloud Shell terminal is prompting right at your project ID, right? And also make sure that you know how to navigate to BigQuery. You can either click this link or copy this link and open it in the project tab. Or like I told you previously, in one of the open another Google Cloud tab by right-clicking on the logo, and in the search bar, type BigQuery. Look for the service that you want to open. In this case, we want to open BigQuery, right? So click and open that. Now we have basically everything we need, at least to get started. All right, now go back to the code lab. We are done with the prerequisites. Go to step 3, preparing data. I'll pause here for a few seconds. Show of hands, how many of you are able to go till this step, please? Okay, awesome. All right, let's get started with step 3, preparing data. So as you can see right here, the first step here is create data set. And the first line states that we're using a movies data set. And this data set is derived from a source. The source is also linked there. You don't have to click any of those, but I'm just telling you that this is the source and this is where I've stored it. And data set in BigQuery is similar to database in any other traditional database or data warehouse, right? So we have to create the data set. That is the main container. It's not called a container, it's called a data set, but it is equivalent to a database where you create tables, create objects, store your data in the tables, create triggers, and all those database objects, right? So that is data set in BigQuery. It's called dataset in BigQuery. So we'll create a dataset. Next step, we'll load the data to your local to your Cloud Shell machine, and we'll create the table and load the data into that table within the dataset we created. So that's what this particular step contains. So creating a dataset, just copy this line BQMK hyphen location equal to US Central 1, and the name of the project is Movie Insights. The Movie Insights is the name of the data set, and location you're selecting US Central 1, and BQMK. So this is what allows you to create the data set in Cloud Shell command. So copy this, go to your Cloud Shell terminal and paste it right here. So this line should create movie underscore insights dataset in your BigQuery project. In my case, it already exists, so I'm not going to create, but you should be able to see dataset is created. So can you show your thumbs up if you're able to get past this step? Perfect. Now let's move on to the next sub step of step number 3. Clone the source file to your Cloud Shell machine. So just copy that git clone. That's nothing. Basically, what you're doing is you're cloning the contents of my repository to your Cloud Shell machine. So you'll get the CSV, which contains the data that we are going to use. So go back here, go to the Cloud Shell terminal, paste that line, and hit enter. Okay. So mine is already there, so it is not creating, but in your case, you should be able to see that. Now, how will you confirm if it's already there? Go to your Cloud Shell editor tab, which you have opened in the next, the adjacent tab, right? So open that, and movie score GenAI insights, right? So make sure you're able to see that particular folder, movie score GenAI insights, in your editor. Expand that and see the files that it has. Click the movies underscore data.csv, and it opens in the editor. See what it looks like. So this is the data you're dealing with. If you scroll to the end, you'll see that we have about 7,669 rows. So say 7,600 odd rows that you have in the CSV. This is what we are going to load into BigQuery. Show of thumbs how many if you're able to clone the data to your Cloud Shell. All right. Let's keep moving. We have cloned the data. Now what we have to do, we have to create the table in the data set that we just created in step 1 and load the data into the table, right? So go back to your go back to your code lab and move to sub-step number 3. Before writing your bq load command, you have to navigate into the folder, which project folder which you just created. So copy the cd folder name command and paste it right here and hit enter. So it should prompt now within the folder that you cloned from my repository, which is movie underscore score underscore GenAI underscore insights. Now, BQ load command, copy that entire thing. I'll explain it while we are pasting it here. So paste it, and BQ load tells BigQuery that it's loading data while creating the table into the table, and source format is CSV. It is loading from a CSV. Skip the leading rows, which is in the first row. How many rows? One row, because first row is title, header, column headers. So skip it. Movie insights, that is a data set that I've created. Movie score, that is the name that I want my table to have, that is going to be created with this step. Movies underscore data.csv is the name of the CSV file, and these are the fields and the respective data types. That's it, nothing else. All right, these are the column headers with their respective data types. Hit enter. It should take about 3-4 seconds, and that should be completed. I'm going to pause a few seconds here for you all to catch up. Okay, it's complete. Show of hands, how many of you are able to complete till this step? Okay, great. Let's keep going. Table is created. Data is inserted, is what it's saying. So now can we validate it? In order to validate, copy the BQ command from step 5. Now, the first line of the command, because we are running it from Cloud Shell, it has the BQ query, use legacy SQL equal to false at part of the command. And the second half of the command is what you have the SQL query in. Now, just copy this for now and run it in the Cloud Shell command. You'll see what it looks like. As we can see, the data is loaded, table is created successfully. Now, just go back to the code lab and just copy this query part of the command and come back to the tab where you have BigQuery open. And if you have already enabled BigQuery, you should see this on the BigQuery console. If not, it will ask you to enable the API. Click that button. And on this particular console, on the left, you have the Explorer pane. Open your project ID, expand your project ID, and within that, you should be able to see the new data set that you just created. Expand that as well. And under that, you should see the table that you just created. Click the plus icon on the rightmost pane, which is the SQL Workspace editor. Click that and paste the one-line query that you copied from the code lab and run. Remove the command part, just run the query part. As you can see, you can validate that the table is being created and data has been loaded. Now we are all set. We are moving into the ML step, which is creating the model, and step 5, which is predicting using the model that you create. So before we enter into creating the model, show of hands, how many of you are able to complete and test the data? Awesome. So the model part is really important. So listen carefully, because if you already know ML, this is cakewalk. But if this is the first time, there's nothing to be scared about ML. If this is your first project, then it's amazing. You've already had a start with machine learning. So basically, machine learning is where you provide the data to the machine and you train and say, identify patterns based on what the training data that I've provided to you. Use this model to understand the data. And finally, this is my test data, predict using the model that we created. So that is what machine learning is. Now, like I said before, I said we'll create classification model here. So why classification model? Because if you look at the CSV that I gave you here, right, in the code lab, go back to the code lab. Yeah, this is the code lab, sorry. Let me open it here in the GitHub repo. Okay, I'll open the CSV here. You don't have to do this step. I'm just showing it for you to understand the data here and why we're using. So if you see right here, the score field is 8, 6, 8, 7. So it's in one of the 10 values, right? So we are going to use classification model because there are 10 classes for this particular target variable, which is score, the variable that we are going to predict using this model. So out of the 10 classes, it is going to be 1. So we are classifying the prediction data into one of those categories. So that is why we are using a classification model. All right. So there are so many models and we are not using AutoML. AutoML means Google Cloud itself, or BigQuery in this case itself, will decide what objective, what algorithm you need to use for the model. But here we are going to use a custom model, which is you are going to tell in the query what model and what algorithm you're going to use in order to create this model, right? So this is the query. It's a very simple, straightforward single query. Create or replace model. So I'm going to create or replace model. This is a generic SQL construct. And then movie insights is your data set. This model rating by runtime genre is a name that you're going to provide to the model. And options, this is like a keyword. You have to provide these options. Model type is logistic regression. Now that is the algorithm we are going to use in order to classify the data, like in order to do the classification model. And auto class weights, data split method, all of these are explained here in the query details. Please feel free to read it at your own time. But quickly to explain, auto class weights means sometimes if the data is biased or unbalanced, if you set it to true, it automatically balances and makes sure that it should not be skewed towards one particular value. So that's what it means. It's mentioned right here. The auto class weights equal to true option balances the class labels in the training data. By default, the training data is unweighted. If the labels in the training data are imbalanced, the model may learn to predict the most popular class of labels more heavily, right? If you have data with all the movies scored 8, then probably the prediction result will be 8 for majority of the test data that you pass. So that's why you usually keep your data set balanced, but at the same time set auto class weights equal to true. Data split method, we are saying no split because this is where you're separating your data into test and train on validate, but we are saying no split. Don't split it. I'll take care of it in my logic, right? That's what I'm saying it. So I'm choosing no split. Model registry in these two lines indicate that while these two lines are optional, but these two lines indicate that while you're building this model in BigQuery, it automatically registers this model in Vertex AI, which means you can deploy it as an endpoint or a API or an API or a service in Vertex AI, thereby exposing this BigQuery model as a REST endpoint for any of your downstream applications or users. That's why we are including those two lines. These lines are optional unless you want to expose it as API, you can remove those. But in this case, we leave it as it is. Or if you want, you can remove it and run. And then input label calls. So this is what signifies that the target variable is score, which is the prediction variable. And then this bottom part, the subquery part, is what tells the model creation query what data you're boxing or selecting for training, right? So select name, genre, runtime, score. We want all these fields because genre and runtime are your independent variables. Score is your dependent variable or target variable or prediction variable. From the dataset name dot table name, you know why, and where data cat equal to train. So this is one of my fields in the CSV which I have used to predetermine what is my training data set and what are my test rows. So I have already done that, and that is why I chose data split method as no split. So you know now what we have for create or replace model. Copy this query, go back to your BigQuery console, open another tab and paste this query. Now, like I said, if you don't want to register it in Vertex AI, just remove it. It's okay if it's there, but just run this query, right? In my case, my model is already created, so I'm going to rename it. But you feel free to run it as it is. You don't have to make any change. Just copy and run this in your tab, and it should take about a few seconds to complete this step. Show of hands, how many of you are able to get to this step with me? That's it. We have only a few folks following along. How many of you are able to go through this step? At least the dataset storage part. Okay. I'll give you a few seconds to catch up while the model is getting created. All right, so the model is successfully created. Click Go to Model. And once you go to Model, you should be able to see the schema and evaluation, training, and details. This is what it looks like. If you go to Schema, you should be able to see your target variable under Labels, and you should be able to see the independent variables under Features. So name, genre, runtime, and predicted score in your target. So we are good here. Now, what we want to do is, now that we have created the model, the next logical step is to use the model and pass some test data and perform prediction using the model you just created. Go to step 5. There you see a simple select query, which you're going to use in order to predict using the model that you created. And the keyword that is used for that is ml.predict. And you pass in the model as a keyword, an actual model data set and model name as parameters. And the subquery is where you're passing the data. Remember how we pass the training data for the model creation query? Similarly, we are passing the testing query, um, or in other words, the query that fetches the test data for the prediction process. So just that's what the select query means. Copy this and go back to your BigQuery console. I'll just close this tab and open another tab, paste this. and run this query as it is for the new model that I just created. So now this is using the model you created previously and predicting for my test data. As you can see right here, it has the fields like the predicted score, the target variable in predicted underscore score field. And there is another prediction variable or field that is generated, which is predicted score probability. What it means is, what is the probability of this movie having a different score? Right? How probable it is to be an 8? It's only 16% probable. The highest probability is what is chosen as a final predicted score. All right, so this is what the result of your prediction query looks like. So all the records that I passed in as test data have got the appropriate results. Now, how many of you are able to use this and create your model, ML model, and successfully get the prediction result? So this means that you're successfully not only understood what cloud computing is, Google Cloud is, you've not only started your journey with Google Cloud, but you've built an application and you've taken it to storage, you've taken it to integrating CSV data into your storage, you've taken it, and then that's what storage is, and then you've taken it to creating ML and prediction using ML. All right, so a few folks at least have completed, I hope. If not, feel free to do it at your own time after this session is completed as well. But this last and final step, which is creating generative insights. Go back to the code lab. We are done with the ML part. The last step is creating the generative AI part. We'll spend about 5 minutes in this, and this should also be complete. Now, you saw what ML is and how we pass data, training data, and analyze pattern from that in order for using it for prediction, right? So that's what traditional ML is. And AI is when a human element is involved in it, like image, audio, video, or something in real world gets involved in it, unstructured gets involved in it. That's when it becomes AI. Now, generative AI is one step further, where you don't provide actually anything for training, rather ask the machine to generate content for you in whatever format you want for the question that you ask, depending on which model or machine you're talking to. So that's what generative AI means. So is it ML also? Generative AI for a consumer or as a developer who's using the API is not an ML model, because you're asking a question and getting an answer. But behind the scenes, the generative AI model itself is created by training such huge amounts of data. I don't remember the exact amounts of data in my, I mean, right at the top of my head, but there's a huge amount of data that's gone into training and preparing these generative AI models. But when it comes to using the generative AI API or using generative AI as a user or a consumer, it is for you. It's a question answering or chat machine or anything that creates or generates insights and content for you for your questions is what generative AI is. So what we're going to do right now is, as you can see right here, we will deliver insights on the movies data set by asking large language model API, which is the Palm API. We will use Vertex AI's text bison model, or in other words, it's exposed as a Palm API model, text bison model, to summarize the factors that influence the movie score to be greater than 5. So we are basically going to ask the model, hey, hey, Palm API, can you tell me what factors influence the movie score to be greater than 5 on a scale of 1 to 10? So that is what we are going to ask the generative AI model. But that is not so simple. We also have a concept called prompting or prompt engineering. So what it basically means is, the way you ask a specific question should be that detailed and engineered so well that you tell the machine what you're looking for, and you're able to get the right value for your question, or what you're looking for, the right insight that you're looking for. And not just right, it has to be concise, it has to be of relevance, it has to be of relevance to your context, to your area of business or anything, right? So making sure you engineer the input that you pass for the prompt in a way that your response is guided or padded with real information that is relevant to you, is what we call excellent prompt engineering, or prompt engineering for that matter. So for this, what we're going to do is, we are going to use the same table that we created, which is movie underscore score. And we are going to create an external connection because we want BigQuery ML to use the Vertex AI's API. And then we'll use a single query which uses the keyword generate text, generate underscore text, which will invoke the Palm API as a remote function from BigQuery, right? So that's all we're going to do. So how to create a connection, go to step 7 and then open your BigQuery console again. In the top left corner under Explorer, you see an add button, click that. And once you click that, search for, don't search for anything, just in popular sources, you should see connections to external data sources. Click that. And once you click that, it should open external data source pop-up. Drop down connect, click the drop down connection type and choose Big Lake and remote functions. Provide a connection ID that is provided in the code lab, PQ underscore LLM underscore connection. Copy that and paste it here. Make sure your location type is same as the dataset of BigQuery. So choose region and from the drop down, select, you can type also US-Central 1. So I've selected it and provide a friendly name. You don't need to provide anything else. Just hit create connection. In my case, I already have this. It'll take about 1 or 2 seconds and the connection will be created. And once you create the connection, expand the external connection section over here, or it'll say go to connection button. Just click that button. And once you click that, you should be able to see the service account ID. Select the ID part fully and copy it because we need to provide access to the service account to the Vertex AI's Palm API, right? Vertex AI, this service account needs to be a Vertex AI user. Only then BigQuery will be able to call that API. So I'll finish the step and then I'll check in with you to align on the steps. So click the navigation menu, the hamburger menu, and then from the left, choose IAM and admin. Click IAM and admin. Actually, open another tab. Don't do that. Right click on the Google Cloud logo and open link in new tab. And in the new tab that opens, click the hamburger menu, which says navigation menu on hovering. And choose IAM and admin. And once click IAM and admin, and once you click that, it will open up the permissions page. Under view by principals tab, click grant access. And in the new principles, provide the link. In your case, it won't drop down anything, I believe. Just select that link and assign roles. Click the download for selector role. And in the filter, type Vertex space AI space user. Just select that and save. So once you save that, it will create that particular permission. And now go back to, you can close this tab, go back to BigQuery, close this connection tab as well. All right, so you have open a new tab and keep a fresh SQL tab open. Now come back to the code lab. You've created the connection and you've granted the permissions. So how many of you were able to get till this step? All right, so let's continue. It's about just one step away and you're already set for this. Create a remote ML model. All right, so in creating a remote ML model, as you can see, you have the create or replace model, which is a keyword, you know that, and create or replace is a standard SQL construct for creating an object, and then movie underscore insights is your data set, LLM underscore model is the name you're providing to the LLM model that we are creating right here. Remote is a keyword because we are going to use the Vertex AI Palm API as a remote function in BigQuery. With connection, these are keywords, and you have to provide the connection name within single quote. And why this is important? Because this is a structure in which you provide the connection name, which is the region name dot connection name, and options. Within options, you provide remote service type equal to, and within single quote, it says Cloud AI Large Language Model V1. Now, this is what refers to the Palm API Text Bison model. Now, copy this whole thing. Go back to your BigQuery SQL tab, paste this right here, and run it. In my case, I already have it, so I'm going to rename it and run. In your case, don't do that, just run it. And once you run it, you should be able to immediately in a few seconds see successfully created model LLM underscore model. Click that. You should see the details, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else to see here. Close it and open another tab because we are going to do the last step here, which is use the model which we have just created in BigQuery using the using the Palm API as a remote function in BigQuery. We are going to use that model and generate text by sending a prompt. All right. So in between step 9 and 10, there's only one difference. Step 9 is where we'll write the query in such a way that the result is unstructured. And the last unstructured in the sense it is very nested and it is not following a proper structured approach. The step 10 is where you use a keyword called unnest, which means it unnests the results and flattens it out and gives it as a structure. So let's skip to step 10 because it is the same thing, but we have used the keyword called unnest to make sure the result is more structured, right? So we'll just skip to step 10. Now copy the select query and paste it in the SQL editor. I'll explain it here. So if you notice, you have the ml.generate text, which is the keyword. Like I said, this is where you're invoking the model that we have just created for LLM, for generative AI text, right? Large language model. And this is the keyword, and this is the model that you just created, prefixed by its data set. Now, within this is the subquery that contains the prompt. So what I'm basically doing is I'm asking a question from the following text about movies. What do you think are the factors influencing a movie score to be greater than 5? And where is the following text? You have to provide text, right? For that, I'm passing this movie underscore data variable. Now, where is this movie underscore data variable getting populated? It is another subquery inside that. It's nested query. Here is where this query is where I'm actually computing the value for movie underscore data field. Now, what have I done to select this? Remember all these data rows that you see in this particular table? Where is this table? Yeah, I've limited it as 3. Let's limit it as 50 and run this query. Instead of these 4 columns, pass in asterisk, select star from movie underscore insights dot movie underscore score. You don't have to do this step. I'm just showing you, just look at this particular step in my screen. So basically these 50 rows, just saying these are the only rows. Imagine these are the only rows in this table. 50 rows are, this table only has 50 rows. What I've done is I've concatenated these 50 rows by rows as a story. Go back to that query. So I'll tell you where the story is formed right here. It concatenates the rows and aggregates the string in the string as the rows are aggregated into one chunk of text or one story of text. So this is what it forms: a movie named followed by name, from the country with a censor rating of rating, and a budget of budget, produced by company, which is the value, with a runtime of about runtime value, and in the genre value, starring the hero's name or heroine's name or whoever has starred in the film, has had a success score of, this is the score. So similarly, I'll take all the 50 rows and I'm concatenating, chunking, actually I'm creating a single chunk of text by bringing in all the data from all these rows, and I'm storing it in this movie underscore data field, and that is what I'm passing as a concatenated value to the prompt. So from this chunk of text, find out what you think are the factors that influence a movie score to be greater than 5. Now, these are all mandatory parameters. All these parameters that you see here are explained in the code lab. In the interest of time and as an interest of giving you an assignment, I'm going to ask you to go back to the code lab and understand from step 9, which we skipped, what each of those attributes mean. Go and read it there. It is very detailed and it should give you an overview of all these parameters mean. But now for the hands-on sake, click run and you should be able to see the result of the uh, question or the prompt that you sent in. You should see the generated text. As you can see right here, it says, based on the given information, the following factors seem to influence a movie score to be greater than 5. Genre, all the movies with a success score greater than 5 belong to crime genre, and sensor rating have always been R, and so on and so forth. We are not able to see the entire result from the model here, but if you save the results into a CSV and in your local file, you should be able to see the entire result from this generative AI text, generative AI model. So that's it. You've successfully created an application. You've stored the data. You've created machine learning model, and you've predicted using the model, and you've created a generative AI model and prompted using it. And finally, you will also do one more thing to continuously, actually, yeah, one more thing to continuously receive or get more insights about new things that's happening with Google Cloud. Sign up for innovators and also join in Code Vipassana Season 4, which is fully generative AI focused, and it starts on 6th of November. I'm going to ping the link where you have to join for that particular program, codevipassana.dev. So this is the link. Click that. There is a register button. Please go ahead and register because it's free sessions. You will build at least 7 to 10 applications hands-on. It's not every day. It's on specific days. Please click that and register. You will get all the details in the landing page itself. All right. So how many of you managed to create the generative AI and get results from it? Wow, that's amazing. So I'm going to clap for you all. Did an amazing job. Such good audience, I would say. And finally, I'm going to give you one link to join as innovators. That is important because if you in the future envision becoming an innovator champion or GDE or to contribute more, it will help you learn from becoming being innovators. So I'm going to paste that link right here. Yeah. If you haven't signed up already, use this link to sign up to become innovators as well. But most importantly, go to codevipassana.dev and register because I would like to. You've been great audience, and I would like to continue to see you in upcoming sessions. And season 4 is going to be huge. We have 5 or 7 speakers. 5 of those are Googlers and 2 guest speakers, and it's going to be very engaging. Over to you, hosts. Thank you so much.
Hello,
Yep, can hear you, Namika.
Rajiv. Can you just give me confirmation? Thank you. Also, is my camera turned on? Can everybody see me?
No, Anamika, you're not. We cannot see you. Now you're
Can you see
visible.
me now?
Yeah, you're visible now.
Yeah, great. Hello everyone. I am Anamika Nevase, final year student at SIESGST and the facilitator for the Google Cloud Study Jams 2023. As we wrap up with this fantastic and enlightening session, I want to express our gratitude to our very own speaker. Ma'am, your session on data to generative AI on Google Cloud has been incredibly insightful. I'm sure, like me, our entire audience found it captivative and learned a lot. We are delighted to have you as our keynote speaker for the Google Cloud Study Jams 2023. I'd like to sincerely thank you for taking out your time to be here with us. It's been a pleasure having you. And on behalf of GDSCSIESGST, we'd like to present you with a small token of our appreciation. We wish you very best, all the very best in your future endeavors. May you keep thriving and inspiring people just like today. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in today.
Thank you so much. I really
So now
enjoyed.
we move
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry, ma'am, if I cut you. Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you all, and it was a very engaging audience, and everyone was like really quick, and there were, yeah, not many bumps, roadblocks. So it was very engaging for me as well.
Your session too, since it was hands-on, most of the audience was engaged and was going along with you. So that was the best part. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am. Now we move ahead with the session. The time has come for the most awaited reveal of the season. We've been receiving numerous DMs, not just me but my entire team, asking "Kya hai ye saal ke goodies?" So yes, it's time to unveil the goodies for the Google Cloud Study Jams 2023. Rajiv, are we ready? So 1, 2, 3, and ta-da! So yes, you will be receiving a pack of 4 that will have a legendary Google Cloud t-shirt, a pack of stickers, a Google Cloud bag, and a water bottle. Each one of you who have booked a seat in the top 80 will receive this. But I guess we haven't revealed the top 80 yet. So there's one more revelation to come. But before that, I want to kindly request each one of you to do not spam our DMs asking when the goodies will be shipped. We will let you know as soon as we have any information about the shipping of the goodies. So let's see who's in the top 80. Now we will play a video for you all, and as soon as you see your name, please react with your favorite emoji. Done deal? Let's go then.
Anamika, you're on mute, Anamika, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Kritika.
Yeah, good to go.
So, congratulations to each one of you. I'll keep this brief as we've reached the end of our session. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to each one of you for dedicating your valuable time to complete this course. Those late night sessions with countless cups of coffee to stay awake have totally paid off. I hope that both I and my team were able to provide the support and guidance you needed throughout your Google Cloud journey. You've been the most enthusiastic participants we've ever had, and for that, I'm truly grateful. I wish you all a very best and hope you continue to learn and push your boundaries. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again in a few months at the grand prize distribution ceremony, but this time it will be in person. Again, thank you so much for joining in today. This is Anamika Nevase, the facilitator for the year 2023, signing off. Thank you.